Hello, Hockey World. How the heck are you? We are going to get into it. We've got some interesting rumors. I've got some kind of off the wall things today, so we're going to talk about, which will be fun. But first, Russ, what's going on?
Well, I mean, Major League Baseball settled their differences with the PA, and
Imagine that.
baseball is going to start almost on time, not really on time, but
No, Russ,
hold on, Mike. Let
We're only going
me.
to get 195 games in the regular
Yes,
season.
but
162. Yes.
but they're gonna get into 162. But I'm telling you right now, Eck, and this is where Jan had a funny tweet yesterday. He's like, "Well, let's see what they do for the fans," and I'm like, "They don't care about the fans. They want the fans to just show up." And this is a perfect example. So like, I've been to all those Met opening days, right? Now Mets opening day is now on April 15th. A lot of people have made plans to do certain things on April 15th.
Sure.
6 months ago, 5 months ago, because that's never been an opening day date.
Right.
And now it is. And I'm telling you, it's wreaking havoc with fans. And this is the part that really stinks about this, is because now your whole life, if you've got some things planned out, baseball has completely changed. And that's going to suck.
Now, what they should do, Russ, is, I mean, I know it's traditional. Opening day is an afternoon game. But because of that, what they should do is they should do a night game, because
no, it is already a night game.
Oh.
Everybody in New York would prefer it to be a day game because that's what opening day should be. So they should switch it from a night game to a day game. But I don't know if they will.
So they're starting on the road for the first two series, because I know that the opening day is, I think, April 5th or April
7th. Max Scherzer will pitch in Washington, and I'm thinking about going to that one because I'm not that far from Washington, but I probably won't. I'll probably go to the Met one. But the idea is it's one of these things now that we think that fans will just automatically be in the ballpark when things start. But I have a feeling some of those April dates are still going to be tough to sell because, again, people have a lot of plans made, and that's going to be interesting.
What I'm curious about here is, okay, so it's March the 11th and April 7th is opening day. So that's what, 26 days or 20?
It's like 4 weeks.
27 days. So just under 4 weeks. We're going to find out whether there was any kind of surreptitious discussion between teams and representatives, like there has been at the deadline or at July 1st with the NHL. Because if all of a sudden, like, they say, okay, 3:00 transactions start, and 3:01 the Atlanta Braves trade for Matt Olson.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna see so many free agent signings and so many trades in the next. And I don't even know when the starting.
Today is supposed to be the starting day. Nothing's happened yet. I don't know if we're going to see him that fast and furious the first day, but I also think a lot of players will go back to their original teams. Like, so as an example, I think that whole Freddie Freeman to the Yankees is just so the Braves pay Freddie Freeman more and he goes back there. And right. I think we're going to see a lot of that, I think.
And if Freddie Freeman goes to Atlanta, then probably the Yankees re-sign Rizzo for a year.
Right. I think we're going to see a lot of that. And I think there'll be a lot of movement, don't get me wrong. But I think now, because of the quickness of all this, players are going to be scrambling because they already know they're not going to get their number. Like there's no way, if you didn't have a deal signed before the lockout happened, you're not getting that super massive deal you were hoping for. Now you're going to have to just get something good. And I bet there's going to be a lot of short-term deals. That's what I'm expecting.
Yeah. That makes sense.
That's it.
That makes sense. All right, we gotta talk about Ryan Dzingel. That's happening.
Great.
What the hell is the date? Okay, it's the 11th of March.
You just looked at an airline ticket. You don't know the date?
Hello, Hockey World. It's Friday, March 11th, 2022.
I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Eklund. You're watching HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes every Monday through Friday to fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world. We might be joined by Kevin in a little bit. We're not sure. But in the meantime, we're going to talk rumors and some interesting, crazy rumors, which I'm kind of enjoying right now. But first, we actually have some actual stuff happening. So Joe Pavelski has signed for a 1-year deal to remain a Dallas Star through next year.
Yeah, I'm assuming there's probably a no trade or no move
Looks
attached.
like it's in the mid fives from what we're seeing.
I didn't hear a number, but
I heard mid fives.
yeah, I mean,
and
both David Pagnotta and Darren Dreger broke it in terms of that they're close to finalizing, but we haven't seen an amount. But 5.5 would make sense. He was making 7, I believe, on his last deal. So
I mean, he's worth it. He's having a great year. He obviously could have gotten maybe more than that even if he went out.
It's funny, and it's funny because the first year of that 3-year deal, everybody thought, oh my God, this is a friggin' bust of a contract because he was terrible. And his turnaround was the bubble Stanley Cup playoff where he was fantastic for Dallas and was a key reason why they got to the Stanley Cup final. And ever since then, he's been great. He's really been good, and he's been playing with Hintz and Jason Robertson. So I mean, I think depending on the amount, Russ, I think this is a good signing.
It's a good signing, but again, if Dallas, let's say they make the playoffs just by the hair of their chinny chin chin and they're out in the first round, this is going to remind me of like the Blues when they made the playoffs that one last time to make it like 20 years in a row when they were out in the first round and then they bottomed out. There's going to be a point where the Dallas Stars are going to be close to bottoming out here, and they're just sort of extending a window that I don't really think is there. And I think that's a dangerous thing, but I know they want the playoff revenue, so hey, whatever.
I mean, the core group of Ben, Sagan, Pavelski, Holtby's a backup goaltender, Radulov, who's a UFA at the end of the year. Most of that group, they're in their early to mid 30s.
Yep.
And they're, the new group, the Heiskanens, the Hintzes, the Robertsons, that mishmash can be effective and might have a run. But Drager's saying $5+ million on a 1-year deal. So there you go. So and so actually you're right before Drager.
Thanks.
But yeah, so I mean, I get the point that this is probably sort of like Pittsburgh, where this is one last kick at the can for a team that's got a lot of older players. But they're not exactly bereft of talent if those older players disappear, like if Radulov doesn't come back.
They have. I mean, they are. We talked about the Flyers yesterday. Different situations, but they Provorov, Heiskanen, they have a couple good young defensemen there, but in each situation for sure. No, I think Dallas is further along than Philly is, but
they are for today.
Yeah, for today.
No,
and I do think that they could be a force in the playoffs. I mean, the West is a weird conference. They're both strange, but the more powerful teams are in the East, with the exception of like a few, with the exception of obviously Colorado. And I think Dallas sees it as a possible run, and if they can get, everybody wants to avoid Colorado in the first round. That's the big thing you want to do. And if you can avoid Colorado in the first round, do it. Pavelski likes it there. I don't think he's the kind of guy who necessarily wants to play on 20 different teams, like he wants to go move team to team to team to team to team. So I think he was obviously liked it and loved it in San Jose.
He's got a big role there. So
he's got a big role. He's having a great year. I mean, he probably could have gotten more than this if he went to free agency. I think definitely because he's had a strong year.
Now, I'll tell you this. I don't think this deal would have happened if Dallas was on the outside looking in of the playoffs. Now that they're in a playoff spot and, Pavelski is helping that pursuit, they probably would have traded him if they were outside of it.
Yeah. I think they would have, and because I know they talked to teams about it, so they were definitely playing both sides of that to see where it goes. But now it really does look like Dallas is going to make it, and I think they've got a serious shot. And if they could still go cold. They could still not make it, and that would be an absolute disaster.
Oh, that would be horrible if that happened.
Yeah, but they still could possibly do that. All right.
Just one thing, because we talked about it yesterday early when we did an early morning show, and then I heard Elliot Friedman on Toronto radio basically say what I said yesterday, and that especially Russ shot down. Friedman is saying this, what he's heard after the Ristolainen signing, that Philadelphia may be looking to do a reset on the blue line, and that would include either trading Provorov or trading Sanheim. Now, Provorov would be more difficult to trade, although I think there are people out there who would like him because he's on a specific price point, and it's not a ridiculous amount, and he's locked up with significant term. Whereas Sanheim only has a year, but I believe he mentioned the St. Louis Blues in connection with Sanheim or Provorov. So, it's not out of the, it's not guaranteed, but I can see them trading Sanheim.
I think what's happening, and it's not like to blame Elliot Friedman. He's an incredible reporter, but sometimes you have to look at some of the reporters who have been reporting in these cities for a long time that used to be very reputable, but now are working in more, I'm not going to say who that, I'm not going to mention names, but now they're working more for places that are just looking for traffic and hits and stuff like that. Some of those guys started talking about Provorov getting traded. I don't buy that. It's just,
I don't buy it even for a second.
And I think that it's a very easy thing to do. But if a guy like that is, who used to be a very reputable reporter, writes that, and Friedman sees it, he might not know what that person's writing, the publication that person's writing for now. So, the situation here, I think, is not Provorov. Sure, Sanheim could be moved. But I think the one thing you want to do is if you're going to build, you want to build from a strong defensive position. So
right. Here's the problem. Okay. I was saying this to Mike offline. So let's say you go to move Provorov or Sanheim. You have to thrust Cam York into a top four spot, and he has to be one of your power play guys. Now the problem is if you go into next year and let's say, I don't know, Provorov's gone. So now if Ellis goes out, then you're going to use either Sanheim or York on the power play. Now, York gets a shot through on the power play, but it's not a great shot at this point in time. He will get some assists on the power play because he's a good passer too, and I saw the assist. But if you noticed in yesterday's game, he missed the net a few times. His shot needs to be more accurate at the NHL level. He's not there yet. So you move one of those two pieces, all of a sudden Ellis gets hurt. You're back in the same spot you were, except it's not Keith Yandel. Now it's somebody, who I think is probably a little better than Keith Yandel, but not where he's going to be. And that's the problem with this equation. I don't think the Flyers can afford to do it because you don't know what Ellis is going to do.
And also, if you trade Provorov, you're probably extending Sanheim because
that would happen.
Yeah. We definitely would do that, but I just don't buy the concept of them trading Provorov.
I don't buy Provorov. I buy Sanheim.
He's having a bad year. Fine, write it off.
No, I agree. And a new coach, and having Ellis play all the time. Knock on wood I think that will have a positive effect on him. And I think I don't know if he's like a top 5 number 1 defenseman, but I think he's definitely a legitimate number 1 in this league. And those are hard to come by. So
he is. I want to just get rid of a notion here that like Michael Cohen put out there, like he basically said he was sold as a franchise D-man, a serviceable minute eater at best. Okay. He is still a franchise D-man because anytime you've got a guy playing the 1 or the 2 for 20-something minutes a game and never misses games, that is a franchise defenseman. It may not be a franchise defenseman like Cale Makar. Nobody sold him like that. But I'm just saying that is still a franchise defenseman. I'm not sure what people think a franchise defenseman is anymore.
There's only one Victor Hedman.
Right.
So, I had this discussion with somebody regarding Morgan Riley. Morgan Riley is the number 1 defenseman. Is he the best number 1 defenseman? No. Is he a number 1? Is he somebody who can play 26, 27 minutes a night? Yeah, he is. Now, he's not perfect. He needs a defensive defenseman or somebody like a TJ Brody who he plays very well with. And if you don't have the right partner like Provorov had with Niskanen,
and that is honestly. Provorov is the kind of defenseman that does need a good partner.
He does
because he is very freelance type. He's a very freelancing type defenseman. He likes to get caught up in the play. He likes to go behind the other team's net. Like he'll be back there. He'll do weird forechecking things that you don't expect him to do because he uses his speed and to his advantage. He'll be able to get back quickly and stuff like that. But Provorov roams, and he's a roamer, and he needs a really smart defenseman to play with him. And if he doesn't have that, If he's not roaming and not doing the Provorov thing, he is just an everyday 2, 3, 4 defenseman. But when he does the Provorov thing, he's a 1.
Yeah.
But that does require him to be comfortable doing the Provorov thing. And the only way he's comfortable doing that, I think, and this year he hasn't been, because he hasn't had somebody that he knows that if I take this chance, we're not going to get caught. I think that's what's going on inside his head. Provorov is a really mental player, thinks a lot. As you know, he's just last thing on the Flyers. I know we went with the Flyers a lot yesterday because a lot of things are happening, but I do want to address the Claude Giroux stuff, because there's a new thing coming out now, like what I was talking about kind of for the last couple of weeks, that people are saying that Giroux's value is kind of falling because people aren't convinced he will leave, that he'll accept the trade. That and like I said before, there is Patrick Marleau in him, and I really feel like there's that like homebody type thing. But he likes it here. This is his home. This is the only place he's ever played in the NHL. This is his wife's from here. He's got her family's here. You know, he's got kids, and their family takes care of their kids. It's a very much like, typical. He's made the money, so how much does it matter to him to go try to win a Stanley Cup? He doesn't have to. He can take less money if he wants to and play here. They can keep him if he does that. But the reality is he's got to make that decision as to what he's willing to make next year at the end of the day.
Well, that's what it is. I mean, he would have to accept about $4 million.
Right. Which is when you remember Patrick Marleau signing like the 1-year deals, and Joe Thornton signing the 1-year deals in San Jose, they were like that, they were those kind of deals. They were $5 million, but not $4 million, but they were $5 million when they could have gotten $7 million someplace else.
But he could have a press conference tomorrow and say that, Eck. He didn't do that.
And he might. I mean, but the reality is, I don't think that's where this is going anymore. Like I was talking.
I don't either.
I was talking about this a couple weeks ago because I really felt that was possible. Now I feel like, remember when he first came into the NHL, he lived with Danny Briere, and for a long time, as did Couturier. Also, Briere is really tight with Giroux, really tight. They play, they played together, I think, in Europe during the lockout. Even they're very, and I think Giroux has I know it's been written about that one of Briere's jobs has been to tell Giroux it's okay to leave Philadelphia,
right.
That you can go and do this and even come back at some point. But Briere left Philadelphia and now is back working for the team, and back, Giroux could probably be back working for the team eventually, who knows. But so I think Danny can be pretty, I think Danny's very convincing in terms of stuff like this. And I know Claude looks up to him like a father. So I think that's going to be, and I do believe that Dan will convince him to go, but you never know. But I have been talking about this for a while. It's funny now that people are starting to say, well, he might not be going. I really actually think he will. So I'm sort of like a little bit.
Right after that 1,000th game and they give him the ceremony, that's when he's going.
And that means a lot to him, the 1,000th.
Yeah.
It really does. It does mean something. Now,
I don't blame him, sure, of course.
Yeah. Now, probably one of the weirdest players in the league is
Ryan. Wait, actually, I have to ask you a legit question now before you do that. Yeah. So will he get a better 1,000 game award than any other Flyer in recent years that has gotten those?
Yeah, I think so.
Will it be a bigger piece of crystal? Will it be a silver stick? What are they going to do?
A Rolex. I'm not. That's what they used to be. It always used to be the diamond crusted Rolex.
I'm going to go silver stick. I'm going to say
it's the diamond crusted eye. Maybe it's like a.
Wayne Simmons got both the crystal and the silver stick from the Leafs.
I mean, he has been the longest running defense captain in Flyers history.
Yeah,
he has. He's up there in points. He's definitely as Flyers.
I mean, are they shopping at Tiffany's or are they shopping at someplace closer in Philly, like Steven Singer Jewelers?
Comcast. It's the I Hate Steven Singer guy,
right?
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
Jens or shopping.
I hope they give him something. Okay, all right, so moving on to Ryan Dzingel for a second. Okay, he's a guy who I think we all agree has some skill, right? Like he's been around for sure.
Yeah, but the skill has dissipated, Ak. And I boned up on Dzingel when he was included in the deal with the Nick Ritchie deal, and it was basically a salary dump.
You gotta have that on a t-shirt. I boned up on Dzingel.
So, right. But anyway, so he's been pretty much ineffective for for Arizona this year.
Yeah.
He was included in the deal with Lyubushkin for Nick Ritchie. Kyle Dubas basically said, we like you, but we're gonna because for cap reasons, we're placing you on waivers. If you clear, you're gonna go down to the Marlies, and maybe we would bring you up later on in the year. But he was very forthright with him, and he got claimed by San Jose. I'm not sure why he was claimed by San Jose.
Because today they put him on waivers.
Because they put him on waivers, and the thing is, now will he get claimed again?
Somebody will claim him, but I don't know for what reason.
Yeah.
Well, a team
I wonder if Arizona would claim him.
No.
I don't know if they claim him back.
a
I
team.
don't know why. I don't know. I mean, Ryan Dzingel, I think his best days were in Ottawa. That was where he probably had the best of his career. Maybe they take a flyer on him.
A team like Ottawa might claim him because they're going to trade a bunch of salary and they to stay over the cap floor, or Buffalo or some team like that. But I don't think he's anything more than a fourth liner with any.
I mean, he's a really good throw-in in a big trade deadline trade.
Yeah, no question. That's what he would be. But again, now with everybody tight to the cap, even with what you'll get him at, and I'm not sure what his salary is.
1-1.
Yeah. There'll be some teams, but not a lot because he hasn't produced.
Now that's just under the variable amount. And you know what? Maybe it's a situation where San Jose is going to put him through waivers. If he clears, then he's a guy who could be on a playoff team, trade a playoff team would trade for him in case of injury. And then he could be called up after, it'd be a black ace, but somebody with playoff experience. So I think that's a possibility.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, we need to just if briefly talk about the game last night in Buffalo, the return of Jack Eichel, and as was mentioned this morning, the heel turn, using a wrestling term, that Eichel did after the game. It was a 3-1 Sabre victory, and two of the players in the deal, Alex Tuck and Peyton Krebs, scored for Vegas. Eichel, I don't believe, had a point because it was Ben Hutton scored the goal for them after the game. And Eichel was very circumspect before the game about enjoying his time in Buffalo and doing charity work. And there was a video presentation. But then after the game, and there was definitely some booing from the Buffalo crowd, some signs that were not too happy about Eichel and what he did. And again, if you want to legislate that, look at your ownership. Look at this. Look at the situation that they didn't want to trade. They wanted to trade him because their insurance wouldn't cover the surgery that Eichel wanted, but they would cover the surgery that Eichel didn't want. And that was
right. I mean, if they agreed to the surgery at the very beginning, would we even be talking about this now? Probably not.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I don't think he was saying, before that he had to get out of Buffalo. I don't think that was the thing. I think
we knew that there's a possibility that he would at some point.
At some point, like McDavid, we know there's a possibility.
Right.
At some point. But I think that's not. It wasn't something that I really saw.
But here's the quote. This is about the loudest I've ever heard this place, Eichel said. Really, it only took 7 years and me leaving for the fans, to get into the game. It was a nice tribute, and there were plenty of people here supporting me and plenty of people here booing me. So, I think he was a little pissed off at the reception. But that's fine. Now it's over with. Now I think next year when Vegas comes to Buffalo and he's at more, I'd say closer to 100% than he was now. He could very easily score 4 goals and pump his fist every time he does. But in the short term, the Sabres got the last laugh because they won the game. Craig Anderson got his 300th career victory, and two of the guys involved in the deal, scored
Alex
goals.
Tuck.
Yeah, Alex Tuck and Krebs. So,
and the other story there is another loss for the Vegas Golden Knights, who are now.
That's the big story. That's the one. That's the big one.
I'm just saying,
that's E5.
They had, like I said, they have one of the easiest schedules, and they just lost to Philly and Buffalo back to back.
Well, they lost their goaltender too.
Right, they lose their goalie, right? So
when Laurent Brasseau played last night, now they have the killer tandem of Brasseau and Logan Thompson. So
wait, hold on. It looks like they're still in third place, though.
they are, but now they're only there because of games played now. And they're basically, I mean,
not because of points earned.
No, they have points earned for sure. I'm not going to go with, but that now both of the wild card teams.
You're talking about anticipated points.
Yeah, I mean the wild card teams are both.
Heinz commercial anticipation.
We'll see. I mean,
listen. But you're doing it way before they even drop out temporarily, which they might because they don't have a goalie. But you're.
Here's the question. Here's an interesting question. Okay,
go ahead.
How serious is this Leonard injury?
I don't think it's that serious because he finished the Philly game,
right?
And I know he sprawled out on the Lindblom goal, and it didn't look great, but I didn't think he was hurt at the time. And he finished out the Philly game, so I don't think it's anything great. I don't think it's a big injury.
Yeah. Renaud Lavoie and Pierre LeBrun both reporting it's a $5.5 million cap hit for Pavelski plus.
Sounds like mid-fives to me. 5.
Yes, there you go. There you go. plus $500K in additional bonuses, so it could be 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean,
that's significant. But here's the thing: there could come a point here at which Marc-Andre Fleury could return to Vegas, and that if
I would be shocked to see it.
I'd be shocked to see it too.
I think there's a better chance of him going to Toronto than Vegas. And that's not saying that it's likely that he's.
Yeah, I think
we'll talk about that.
I don't think his camp, Fleury and his camp, and you know who I mean by that, like Brad McCrimmon very much. Kelly McCrimmon. I did that again. Right. Damn it.
I do that all the time.
Are you talking about Swordman?
Yeah.
I don't think they like him either, but here's the reality, right? Like he does love playing there. He does love living there. He loves the fans there. If he's going to go take another shot, that's probably where he would rather take it than anywhere else. Save maybe the Pittsburgh Penguins. Like if he was playing for the Penguins, maybe that would be the best situation for him. But I think that beyond that, like if this Leonard injury is serious, I don't see it impossible to think of that this would happen.
Nothing's impossible, but I just would be shocked.
Yeah. I mean, they will be. Yeah. I would be shocked too. I'm not saying I wouldn't be shocked, but
now, just touching on something we talked about yesterday, and I said, this is an opportunity for Peter Mrazek to step up, and he stepped right into a pile of shit because he played terribly last night. He allowed 4 goals on 12 shots. He got pulled. The Leafs rallied, but again, showing that inability. This is a team with hockey's version of attention deficit disorder because they consistently against teams that they should beat take a nap for about half the game and then rush back. And they were down 4-1 to Arizona in the third period, came back, tied the game, almost won it. Then lost on a controversial goal where Jacob Chychrun was holding Austin Matthews, and then Chychrun ended up scoring the winning goal, and Matthews was ripping the referee because there were no penalties in the entire game for both sides. But
so they let the boys play, Mike. That's fine.
Oh, hey, fine, right. But if there were no valid penalties to be called and they didn't call them, fine. If there are people clutching and grabbing and they're not calling penalties, then that's irresponsible. But Russ, they did release the Jonas Siegel from The Athletic just reported just before the show that Mrazek is starting.
Of course he was. What did you think was going to happen?
People were saying, "Well, they've got to start Eric Shalgren in goal."
Could you just imagine them doing that? Come on, Mike.
It's idiocy. I mean, my God. I mean,
yeah. No, that's not funny. I mean, there was a tough loss with Florida winning too for Toronto because the reality is now, like if they're going to they're trying to avoid Tampa. They now play the same amount of games as Florida, but are 6 points back.
They're not going to avoid Tampa. I mean,
no, they're going to be playing Tampa at some point.
I mean, the other way to avoid Tampa is to go down.
Right.
I mean, and that's
But that means playing Florida. I mean, would you rather? It's death
or
by
Carolina. I mean, you could end up playing Carolina, and that's the other way.
Freddie Anderson. There you go, Russ.
Right. I mean, how
that's the dream series right there.
That's the dream series. It is. I mean, I think that's who they want to play. Obviously,
Jake Gardner will be showing up as a Canes fan with the shirt on.
Don't you think? I mean, Mike, isn't that between
Florida,
Tampa?
In a back brace, Russ, in a back brace.
Well, whatever, Mike. You're going to make fun of a guy's affliction? I'm just saying.
Oh,
well, that's what it sounds like you're doing.
Just had back surgery. What do you want me to tell you?
Yeah. No, between Florida, Tampa, and Carolina, I think the Leafs' best bet would be Carolina. Honestly, if I was to match up against one of those teams, maybe Mrazek not playing so great is not the worst thing in the world for them right now.
Death by firing squad, death by hanging, death by.
Wait, so there's a positive to Mrazek playing shit? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
No,
I'm saying because Mrazek, because Boston won. So the
question is whether
Boston or Boston lost last night, didn't they?
The question is whether they're going to trade for a goalie now.
They're not trading for a goalie
because we don't know how serious the Campbell injury is.
I mean, unless all of a sudden they say, "Hey, we don't know when he's coming back," then they will. But that wasn't what the plan was, and if they think they're getting Campbell back, they're not trading for a goalie.
Yeah, by the way, Brendan, there's 1 E in dosage.
Oh, boy, you're getting picky now.
There we go.
I went to school.
Yeah, I mean Tampa. It's how this is going to play out. It's really going to be interesting. I think the thing's going to how that division plays out. I am not definite that Boston can't catch them. I really think Boston can catch them. And I mean, right now, last night they got closer. Boston got closer to catching them. They are now 5? They're 4. They're only 4 points behind. Same amount of games played. That's completely.
That is possible.
They play Boston at least twice. Maybe. Well, I'll check the schedule. But
yes,
they haven't played Florida yet.
Have they not played Florida yet? I was wondering about that.
Yeah, let's see. Boston, they play once.
It'll be interesting to see how they match up against Florida too.
Listen, this is all part of the Leafs' master plan. Don't you worry about them.
Yeah,
they have a master plan.
The Islanders are now, by the way, only 4 games out of controlling, 4 points away from controlling.
Oh my. Fine.
So that's also there
because they won a garbage game. Okay.
Yeah, but now they're 20 points back.
20. Do you even listen to yourself?
5 games at hand. All right, so if they win the 5 games at hand,
these aren't 4-point games, Zach.
Where I will say it's over, Mike, is Tuesday night, I think. Okay, Tuesday night coming up, they play the Capitals. Okay, so that's if they lose to the Capitals, it'll be over. I'll say
somebody has to win that game, and X not going to like it.
But if the Islanders win the game, I'm going to like it.
It'll end in a tie.
No, because it could be an overtime win. Then you won't like it.
Yeah, no. No, we don't like overtime games. I mean, the 3-point games are just ridiculous. I mean. I just hate the 3. I hate the fact that we don't get 3. That you don't get 3 points for a regulation win, but that's another argument for another day. The NHL will never change that.
No,
but yeah, I mean, they're doing a pretty good. I mean, the Islanders. When you look at the interesting thing the Islanders are doing lately is when you look at the goal differentials and all the teams that aren't in the playoffs in that conference. They're all in minus 30 or below, above, and the Islanders are minus 9. It's they are close. They're closer to these.
We do need to mention at the St. Louis win because not only did they pepper Shesterkin, but they're now playing their best hockey, and they've done this once before. And when they did it before, they had a nice little cup run. They can make moves at the deadline. All of a sudden, St. Louis does look like a very dangerous team.
What are they going to do with the goaltending situation? Because Husso is a UFA.
You don't worry about that. I mean, again, it's like the Jack Campbell thing. If he wins, they'll sign him, and he won't make that much, and you don't worry about it.
And then very possible right now that the Wild could fall into the wild card spot. Because Dallas and Nashville are both pounding on their heels right now too. So
it's possible.
And then they trade Bennington.
No, I mean Bennington doesn't make that much. They get 4 goals. Yeah, 5's not that much in today's goalie world. They could float both for at
Yeah.
least a season or two.
No, they probably could. They're interesting. So Darren Dreger yesterday, and Karen, the great Karen Haynes wrote about this thing. That Joel Arnia the Montreal Canadiens are getting calls on Joel Arnia, according to Darren.
Armia, sure, because he's a good penalty killer. He's a good fourth line player who plays like good hard hockey. I could see that.
Yeah, but he's got 3 years left at over 3.4 million.
Nobody's touching that.
That's where I'm at. I mean, that's like
that's where I mean, this is going to test the quality of Jeff Gordon's abilities as general manager, because in New York he was able to move some players with term, as we know.
Yeah,
but it was nothing like this. I mean, I'll just do quickly. Gallagher, 5 more years at 6'5".
Yeah.
Josh Anderson, 5 more years at 5'5". Mike Hoffman, 2 more years at 4'5".
Yeah.
Paul Byron, who's been up and down from he's been waived a couple times.
Yeah.
a year at 3.4. Armia, 3 years at 3.4.
Right.
And then and Jeff Petrie, 3 more years at 6.25. And I'm not even talking about Carey Price yet.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know.
Good luck. Enjoy.
Let's talk.
I mean, I have to ask Eck a quick question.
Yeah.
The gigantic iced tea that you have, did you bring that through in luggage?
I got here. I got this here.
So you have a stash sent ahead to where you were going?
It's available everywhere. It's available everywhere in the United States.
Okay.
So Jacob Chychrun. I want to talk about this for the last little bit here. Here's a guy who we all thought, I kept saying, they're never going to get. Now, apparently, talking to somebody last night in Boston, a source I really trust, said that 2 teams, the Bruins and the Kings, have both matched or come up with deals that are enough, like based on they're enough. So the question is, Boston, I think I understand Boston's deal from what I gather. Boston's deal, he thinks. I mean, he's a Boston guy, so he might be a little bit biased, but he thinks the Boston deal is better. I don't know what the exact deals are.
Well, I'll bet you anything. It's DeBrusk, a first, and probably one of their top prospects.
Yeah.
The problem is they're kind of short on D, and so is Arizona. So, I don't know. I mean, who are they going to give him? Connor Clifton? It's going to be someone it's like, I don't know. I mean,
well,
they're probably going to give him 2 first, Mike, because they're just not going to have a great defenseman to give them.
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily. Well, I don't know if necessarily they're going to need a defenseman. I think if it's a if it's DeBrusk, a top prospect and a number 1.
Okay, so who's the top prospect? They're not loaded there.
Right. I mean,
Studnicka is a nice prospect, but he hasn't really pulled through yet. So I don't know if he's going to count. He's one of their top prospects, but I don't
know. I mean,
I don't think. I mean, maybe they'll give up Lysell. Maybe they'll give up Fabian Lysell. I wouldn't personally, but I guess in that trade, maybe they would.
Yeah, I mean, it's going.
Beecher's a 3rd, 4th liner, most likely 4th.
I mean, Jacob Chychrun is legit. He's So, I mean, you have a prospect, you want your prospect to be as good as Jacob Chychrun in all likelihood. If you have
dream on. They're not.
Yeah, I mean, Lysell is a speedster who could score, very creative. So, no, I mean, that's not good enough. I mean, Vakanainen could be that defenseman that they get, but yeah.
So this brings them to the point where, we very well could see Jacob Chychrun moving now. And, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of.
I do think he's gonna move. I do.
I'm beginning to think so too, and I am shocked about it. It's very surprising to me.
Listen, they're gonna build through the draft, Deck. I mean, go ask New Jersey how it's been to build through the draft.
Yep. No, yeah, for sure.
You have to have a very strong drafts. Don't get me wrong, but you also have to have a base of players, and Arizona doesn't even have a base of players anymore.
You need a base of players. They don't even have what they would have if they had an expansion team.
Right.
They don't even have that, which is kind of crazy. The Rangers are still going hard after JT Miller, and I know there's a lot of talk out there that that's not going to happen, but from everything I've heard, they're trying.
I can see it.
I mean, I think it too. I mean, the Canucks are. are very much in the playoff race now. So
based on what I was told by a Vancouver reporter, I don't think they're trading him.
yeah, they don't want to.
I mean, if somebody meets their price, then
the question is what the Rangers are willing to give up, and the Kings are also going hard after Brock Besser. I was told
that makes more sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
If they don't get Jacob Chychrun,
Arvidsson's hurt.
Yeah, they also like Connor Garland. Garland and Besser have both been discussed from what I've been told with the Kings.
I mean,
I think Rutherford wants to move Garland. That's what I've gathered.
Well, I think he can move him because he's got a reasonable term, a reasonable amount with term. And
but you see, that's why they should keep Garland and move Besser. Besser's going to make way more than Garland's making.
They might move both of them because we know Rutherford is going to make hockey deals and not like trade these guys for draft. Yeah. He's trading Besser. He's probably getting say for example, he's trading Besser to LA. He's not trading Besser for a first-round pick. He's probably trading him for guys who are closer to.
Yeah, he'll get someone like Rasmus Kupari and a pick.
Or Turcotte or somebody like that.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to trade Turcotte. Even for one of those guys, I don't think they'll trade Turcotte.
Yeah.
Because listen,
they're not going to trade Byfield.
No, I don't think they're going to trade either. Because in the end, they don't have to make the trade. Vancouver does. So they're going to have to take some of their other prospects who are still very, very good. But I just don't think they're going to trade either one of those two right now.
I kind of agree with you. There is a crazy rumor out there that the Leafs have did contact the Flyers about Braun and Giroux, which I was surprised at. I really get it.
Who did?
He said Toronto.
Okay.
I would highly doubt it, but the only way, and I don't think they're in on Justin Braun because Justin Braun is not the defenseman that they need. They don't. If they're the only way
but they probably called about him, Mike. I could see that.
Right. But as you know, their scouts stopped coming to Philadelphia when they made the Lyubushkin deal, which means they were looking for a right-handed bottom pairing guy, and they got it in Lyubushkin. Now I think they're looking for a top four, and Justin Braun playing with Jake Muzzin does not solidify your top four. And the thing is the only way that deal would even be remotely possible is if Jake Muzzin was out for the rest of the regular season, and they're not making indications that that's the case. Now that could be smoke and mirrors, but right now he's skating, and it sounds like he will be back probably by the end of the month or early April, giving him enough time to sort of get back into the swing of things before the playoffs. Yeah. But if there's any question, if they think he's going to be out till like mid to late April, then they may hold him out. And that's, nobody knows what the level of desperation is here regarding the Leafs. And honestly, in terms of their priorities before the deadline, forward is the last of them.
No, it should be the last of their priorities. Which is why I don't really buy the Giroux stuff, but it's just worth mentioning.
Well, I just want to throw this out there, just so Mike understands that Braun's doing better than he thinks. He's only at 1 goal behind Morgan Riley, and I'm not putting him in the same level as Morgan Riley, but what I'm saying is he has added more offense than you would ever expect Justin Braun to add this year.
That's not what they need.
He does both, though, Mike. That's the funny thing. He's getting these goals 5-on-5. He doesn't play on the power play.
Where he is really helpful to them is they need a defenseman who can go up against Huberdeau and Stamkos and players like that. Basically, a defenseman who has the experience to be able to do that. Like that,
they need a 20-minute physical veteran defenseman.
I think that might be Justin Braun, honestly.
I
think you're wrong about this, Mike. I do.
I think that's Josh Manson. I don't think it's Justin.
Braun's better than Manson defensively.
Oh my God!
Please. I really think he is.
It's close. I will say it's close.
I know Manson's more physical, and I get Manson.
But my question is, and we know the Leafs are going to make some sort of move, but the question is whether they should, because are they going to trade significant assets in the window of playing against Tampa and Florida?
Yeah,
which they would be the underdog. I mean, yes, you have to try. But if you're trading a first round pick and something, and then you lose again in the first round, I mean, is this the sign of the level of desperation that Kyle Dubas has? I mean, some people think if they don't get out of the first round, that he's going to be fired. There's some people who don't think that's the case.
Yeah, see, just so you know, Mike, Saravalli said he hasn't heard anything about Manson, and he thinks he might be getting re-signed as a result. And I kind of feel that way too.
Well, that means that Lindholm is being traded,
right? But you're not. The Leafs can't afford to trade for Lindholm,
and and he doesn't help. He doesn't help them in the. He doesn't help them in the sense that he's. I mean, right now,
Manson does like it there. I know that, but
he does.
Yes, he does. The big glaring weakness for the Leafs is right side of the defense.
So tell me, when Manson's off the board and now Ristolainen's off the board, who are you going to get, Mike?
They're probably trading for Luke Schenn.
Do you think Luke Schenn is a better option than Justin Braun?
No, but he's cheaper.
Is he? Luke Schenn? I mean, Braun's only 1.8.
Yeah, 1.8, and they keep half the salary. It's $900,000.
Luke Schenn's $850,000, and he's signed for another year.
Wow, I can't believe you're advocating for Luke Schenn over Justin Braun.
I don't agree with it, Russ, but I'm saying Justin Braun isn't the answer.
But he's more of an answer than Luke Schenn, Mike.
He's way better defensively than Luke Schenn.
I'm saying, and honestly,
but Luke Schenn's third in the league in hits, just so you know.
Yeah, he hits like crazy, but then you might as well get Robert Hagg.
We're leaving out one option, and that is Mark Giordano.
Okay, what are you trading for Mark Giordano? Because they're going to ask a lot.
And you're gonna have to. Yeah, I gotta go, guys.
Maybe he's their captain.
We'll finish it out.
They're definitely gonna ask a lot for him.
I don't think that based on how.
Thanks, Zach.
Thank you, guys.
I don't think that based on how Giordano has played this year, that and there is an indication out there that he only wants to go to a couple teams, that he's limiting that Seattle is going to be able to get a haul for him. I think they'll get a good return. They might get a first.
I think they're getting a first for Giordano.
Yeah, I mean, it could be something like a first in Travis Dermott for Giordano.
I think I think they would want more than that. That's me personally. I do.
Well, I mean, we'll see. We'll take some questions in the chat before we end the show here. Okay. I mean, okay. I don't think and we're basing this on the report here that, I've heard equal reports that Lindholm is going to sign and that Manson's the one to be traded. So it may be
unless they tried doing that and the number was too high, so now they reverse course.
Right. I think right now, like, we're only going to see who's going to be on the market with Anaheim when one or the other signs. If Lindholm signs, then Manson's getting traded. When Manson signs and Lindholm's getting traded, both of them are not getting signed. Anthony Kennard asks, any interest around the league in taking a flyer in a Samsonov trade? I think there's interest. Okay, are you telling me that Edmonton wouldn't take a flyer on Samsonov?
No, I think they would. The question is Washington going to take Mike Smith back in return? Because Edmonton can't afford both, probably.
And he's got another year left.
Right. That's where the trickiness comes in.
Yeah, I mean, if they're trading Samsonov, that means that they're prepared to go with Vanacek as the number one in the playoffs. And also, Vanacek is a UFA.
So then Smith's your only guy on the books, and you have to still go get a goalie after that.
Right, or that means you're going to re-sign Vanacek.
Right.
You're sort of locking yourself into place. Okay, you've made your decision. Vanacek's the guy. Okay, now you're going to have to sign him. And now he's got, unless you've talked to his agent and you've agreed to a deal, he's got you by the short hairs because he says, okay, he knows that you need him next year, unless they're going to go out in the goaltending market and re-sign Holtby or do something like that. Bardicus asks, should Ottawa buy out Matt Murray or Nikita Zaitsev in the offseason? Well, okay, Murray was playing fantastic about 2 weeks ago.
They're not buying him out.
Yeah, he's got. I'm looking at it right now.
Got too many years left, anyhow.
Got 2 more years at 6.25.
Yeah, trust me. Who does Ottawa buy out? They don't buy out anybody.
Well, right, and this is Eugene we're talking about.
Right.
Now, what I could see is them trading him because, and believe me, the goaltending market out there. I mean, there are enough teams that need goalies out there that.
Yeah, but you know what happens at the draft? All of a sudden, it becomes like this snake oil sale where all these goalies are available, and maybe one moves, maybe two move at the draft. I don't think Martin. I don't
No.
think I don't think Murray's going anywhere. But Zaitsev, they need Zaitsev. Like, what are they? What's their option?
Well, okay. First of all, I just looked it up on Cap Friendly. Murray, if it was a buyout, because he's got 2 years left at 6.25, the cap hit would be 1.75 next year, 750 the following year, 2.5 and 2.5 the following.
Yeah, he's not doing that.
He's not doing that. Plus, it's not like they need to open up cap space to sign other players.
Right. I think they're stuck with Zaitsev too. That's just the way it is.
Zaitsev, I think he has 2 more years left. Let's see here. Nikita Zaitsev got 2 more years left at 4.5.
Yeah, they overpaid for him.
Well, that wasn't there. That was the price. That was the price to pay.
Right.
To get rid of Cody Ceci and Zaitsev 2.8, 833,000. So they would save in terms of cap about 1.7 million the first 2 years. But again, they don't need to open up cap space. If it's clear that they want to get rid of them, there's just as good a chance that Nikita Zaitsev going back to the KHL. They could luck out and something like that happening. Yeah. Let's see here. Okay, we had. All right. Matt Gaffney asks, if I could click the right way. There you go. What would the Flyers get for Giroux? I'm thinking it needs to be a roster player, and a good prospect. I think that might be too much.
No, I think that's what they're still asking, though.
Well, okay, is that because I think the only way they get that if they retain half. They retain half of his salary. Yeah.
Oh, and just to ask the answer to the chat room, I did snort on purpose into my mic before when I was making an effect for an effect. So.
Oh, okay.
Well, like when I was like huffing, like with either what you or X said.
Were you doing a Chevy Chase imitation?
Yeah. That's problems. Yes. But for this, I do think it is going to be a roster player and a good prospect. I do think that Matt's pretty much in line with what they're asking.
Okay. I've not heard one rumor regarding this team being in on Giroux. But based on what they need and based on where they are in terms of their core group and the age of their core group, or at least a couple players in their core group, wouldn't the Bruins make a lot of sense for Giroux?
They would. I don't know if he wants to go there.
Okay. Because, I mean, DeBrusk, Vakanainen, or DeBrusk.
And they haven't been there scouting at all.
Right. So, I mean, I'm just saying, in terms of fit.
As terms of fit, it would be great. But the issue is you'd probably end up using him as a winger there.
No, I know Michael Cohen is joking about this because Ferland is on LTIR. But
yes.
If Shea Weber is being traded for LTIR space, which would be for next year, not for this year with Minnesota, that's one. A guy like Ferland is going to probably get traded to some team that needs to open up LTIR space.
Probably.
He's never. I don't think he's ever playing again. At least that I have not heard any rumors of him coming back. So
I feel like there should be a rule: if you trade for an LTIR guy, you have to make a uniform and put it in front of a locker, hang it in a locker all season long.
But then you're decreasing on social distancing, Russ.
There's not an actual person there.
I know. Or you're increasing if there's a.
Make sure you put up Kevin Dunn's question.
Okay, it's probably
that's fine.
Lower here. Jonathan asks, could the Islanders move Varlamov? What's the return? Okay, so we heard the report, and I didn't see exactly where the report came from, but that Varlamov turned down a trade to Edmonton, which I'm stunned. I'm shocked that he would do that. I mean. He could get a conditional first and maybe a prospect as well. But again, once we heard he turned down Edmonton, it sort of made me think he may not want to go anywhere. Or he may not want to go to Canada.
That's true.
Especially with, and not to bring
Relations and way things are. Yeah.
Well, not relations. I think it's more the border situation. And do we know if, well, everybody's vaxxed, so I don't think it's that, but the border situation and things being shut down, and Edmonton not exactly being like the garden spot of the universe when it comes to the winter. Like, let's see here. Why does Austin Matthews draw so few penalties? Well, Michael, everybody's asking that because I think they said he's like 300th in the league. Like
That's crazy.
And this is the thing, Russ. It's like, again, in that game, Chychrun grabbed his stick. There was no call. And like I said, there were no penalties in the game. So that went along. But in overtime, in a 3-on-3 situation, and to make it even worse, the play led to the game-winning goal, and Matthews was not pleased. But this is something, I think I read the stats that the last 4 or 5 years, the Leafs are like 29th, 30th, or 31st in the league in drawing penalties. And I don't know whether that's conducive to or a symptom of them not going to the dirty areas. But it's I've seen enough plays where their talented players get held or hooked and nothing gets called. And I just, it's baffling.
I think when he's around the net, the puck is off his stick too quick to draw a penalty. And I've never noticed Matthews being that guy that's going to kind of like grind it out on the boards where, you might get obstructed or pulled down. I just don't see that. So I think maybe that's the reason.
Okay. I'm just whipping this out here because Andrew says, whip out one of those guitars. This is a Fender Stratocaster, and I am not going to play it because I don't want to pollute the ears of people out there with my,
All right, I'm going to have to answer Kevin Dunn's question because
okay. Now, all right,
he asked.
Go ahead.
He asked about Corey Andonovsky from Princeton. So yeah, I've watched him the last 4 years, and when Mike said scouts were interested, I'm like, really? And I went back and I looked at all my notes, and then the last game that he played that I was at. Their last home game, they moved him up to the top line. I mean, they basically started the year and for a lot of the year was still on the third line. He's a bottom six guy. He's most likely a fourth line guy. He does bring some energy. He has a little bit of speed when he gets going. He's got a little bit of a speed burst. He can handle the puck well. There are times when he definitely could pop in a goal, but he's not like a big goal scorer. He only had 10 with Princeton, so he's not like a big power play guy. Even on the top power play when they were finally putting him on there, it wasn't like he was like the answer for that or really a big proponent of that. So I think they're getting him for just like that fourth line. Hey, we could put him in there. At some point, he's a replacement level player, and maybe he earns a job. I think that's all you could look for that. Okay.
Need more Cowbell asks, Mike, would you be happier if Toronto went forward or if they moved Hall, Dermott, or Mrazek? Well, okay. When I mean, I don't see those as mutually exclusive. I think that they are probably, if they're going to make a move, they're probably going to move a Dermott or a Hall. Maybe not. I think that both of those defensemen are going to not be on the Leafs next season. I think they want to re-sign Lyubushkin. I don't think they would have traded for him if they didn't like him, but I think that they can probably re-sign him for, a reasonable amount, like 1.5 million, sort of a Yanni Hakanpää type of contract. So that, and I like, again, very serviceable right-hand shot, bottom pairing, experienced guy. Makes a lot of sense. Hall's got another year at $2 million. He's a right-hand shot. I think it's a very movable deal. Dermott's got another year at 1.5. I think Dermott is sort of capped out in terms of where, how his upward mobility in lineups. I think he's a bottom pairing defenseman, but teams need bottom pairing defenseman, and he's mobile. And I think in Toronto, the thing is that Travis Dermott just did not develop into the defenseman that they thought he was going to be when he was a defenseman with the Erie Otters in the OHL playing on the same team as McDavid.
Oh yeah. He was piling up points there. Yeah.
Same team as McDavid and Dylan Strome and Alex DeBrincat. He was piling up points, and even with the Marlies, he was really effective as an offensive defenseman. But he just really didn't develop into that in the NHL, and I don't think he's not big enough and strong enough to be a guy who's gonna clear the front of the net. So
Right.
I think both of them. I just think both of them are going to be gone because they have Lyubushkin and they have to re-sign Sandin and Liljegren, and both of them are coming off their ELCs, and both of them are having good enough years that I would say on a bridge deal, they're probably going to get over $2 million. So they're going to have to clear space. Couple more here. Randy Hunt, what is the rumor of Philly wants from the Avs? I'm assuming for Giroux, and we talked about that. Sampo Ranta was one name.
Yeah, Justin Barron was another name.
Who was there was another.
Well, those were the names that I heard. I mean, I was saying get a Martin Kaut, and so were you, and I was also saying that there was somebody else I would prefer over Justin Barron.
Jean-Luc Foudy.
Yeah, Jean-Luc Foudy, because again, I just feel like he's the kind of player the Flyers don't have. He's a great skating, really good playmaker. And
now the name that came out in terms of Philly having interest was Drew Hellison.
Right. Drew Hellison was the other one. And I do like Drew Hellison. That's what I was thinking over Barron.
Right.
Yeah, I know Barron's got a higher offensive upside, but I still don't love his decision-making. Drew Hellison does everything right, so I like Drew Hellison. He's just not as big of an offensive player, not close.
I didn't see your comment, Matthew, in the chat, so he just basically said what he said, because I'm filtering through here. What team is a good fit for Jack McBain?
Yeah, for McBain, I mean Boston. Boston would be a great fit for him. He goes to Boston College. I think the Sharks would be a good fit.
Well, there is speculation. There has been some speculation that McBain might be the price that Minnesota has to pay to get the LTIR of Shea Weber. Now
but that's assuming he's going to sign with Montreal.
Right. Minnesota would have to give Montreal permission to talk to McBain before they make that deal. So, let's see here. Do you see Verana score the most goals in 10 games for the Verana's a really talented player.
Oh, he's tremendous. It's just that injury hurt him because he's speedy. He scores goals with speed on the rush. He's got a very good shot, a very underrated shot. I like Verana a lot.
Yeah, I just not that everybody's interested in my guitar playing, but I'm a lefty. And I'm more of a bass player than a guitar player. And believe me, that is going out there trying to buy left-handed bass guitars. There aren't that many of them out there. I lucked out getting the one that I have, which is a Fender Jazz bass. I want to get a Fender Precision. I want to get a Rickenbacker. I want to get a Gibson Thunderbird. Yeah, but I'm not a millionaire, and it's
all good bassists are righty, so that's why.
Yeah. Well, Paul McCartney is not a good bass player.
He's okay.
Oh, he's okay. Mike, if you're the Leaf GM, would you do a Nylander for okay? No. I mean, if I'm trading Nylander, I'm trading him for a defenseman who I think is. I've soured on Severson.
I haven't. I like Damon Severson. He is a top 4 guy. You can't say he's not.
No, but I think. But he's only under contract for another year at 4.1, and I think the return on a Nylander would be more than a guy like it would have to be Severson plus.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. I've advocated them trading Nylander because Nylander is the most tradable of the 4 guys, and because I think his value out there is high because he scores 30 goals every year.
He's not getting traded.
Not before the deadline, no. But I think if the Leafs lose
over the summer, he's not getting traded.
I disagree. And if they lose in the
You've disagreed the last 3 years.
Eventually, I'll be right, Ross. Jesus. Let's see here.
Jesus isn't going to help you, Mike.
No. Let's see. I'm checking. Do the Leafs need a guitar player, Mike? No. Randy, that's hilarious. Yeah, no, they definitely do not need a guitar player. Let's see here. Okay. Terry 3G, I'd say Nylander to Vancouver for JT Miller. Okay, why would Vancouver want to do that?
They're not doing that. They're adding salary. Come on.
Yeah. I think there are going to be hockey deals that Rutherford does. I think Besser will be a hockey deal.
Right.
You know, Ivan. Okay, first of all, Nylander is not a Flyers type of player, but
they did want him back in the day. They did.
Would Ivan Provorov for Nylander? Done deal.
Yeah, they're not going to do that.
I would do that in a second. Fine, but is Philadelphia going to do that? No. So.
No, I don't think so.
All right. So Russ and I are going to the Heritage Classic in Hamilton on Sunday, and Russ will be. I don't know. You'll be in transit on Monday, driving back. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So may not be, unless we do a late show. He may not be available, but I will regale you with the wonderful story of how the Buffalo Sabres beat the Leafs 8-4 in front of 25,000 Leaf fans at Tim Hortons Stadium. So for the departed Eklund, for Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agello. Thank you for watching. And remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey.
Hey, the Leafs won at the Big House.